Hello and welcome. I'm Gabby, and this is lesson number 7 of Speak Now YouTube course Asking Questions in English How to Sound More Natural. We are here in this lesson to finally understand why sometimes we don't invert the verb to be to ask a question, or why sometimes we sound like we are stating something, but in fact it is a question. For us, in order to understand that, I have to show you what is the difference between questions and statements. So let's take a closer look at the auxiliary verbs in questions and in statements. All right, so in questions, the auxiliary verbs that we studied previously, sometimes it's the verb to be, sometimes they are other auxiliary verbs as do, does, did. If you haven't watched the previous lessons, please go back, watch the previous lessons. No matter which auxiliary verb in questions, they normally behave in this way. They are in interrogative sentences, anticipating the subject. Normally, what happens in questions is that the auxiliary verbs, they are used before the subject. For example, in case I use the verb to be for a question, I will create a question using are you and not the opposite, you are. So this is one example of an interrogative sentence in which the verb to be is the auxiliary. Now, what a statement is a sentence that is not interrogative. A statement can be either affirmative or negative, also known as declarative sentences. So in case we want to transform this into a question, we cannot simply include the question mark and change the intonation. I am an artist. We have to switch the order of the subject and the auxiliary verb, in this case the verb to be. In this case, we have this as the correct way of transforming that sentence into that statement into an interrogative sentence. Can you repeat that? Am I an artist? Could you repeat? Excellent. So this is the correct way to ask a question in English. So we transformed the statement into a question, not just by adding the question mark, but also by switching the order of the auxiliary verb to be and the subject I. Let's see some more examples to illustrate that. Repeat after me. She is going home after work. Very good. So this is an affirmation. This is an affirmative statement. I'm informing that she's going home after work. What if I want to make this an interrogative sentence? What if I want to transform this into a question? Again, I have to include the question mark, change the intonation, but I also have to remember to switch the order of the auxiliary verb, the verb to be is in this case, and the subject she. So what happens is it becomes, is she going home after work? Can you repeat that? Let's see one more example. This one does not include the verb to be. So it's becoming trickier. Let's take a look. Repeat after me. You like classical music. It's an affirmation. You like classical music. So this is an affirmation. This is a statement. What happens if I want to make this a question? I include the question mark at the end. I change the intonation, but I also need a different auxiliary here to indicate that this is a question. I'll give you some seconds to think about it. Which is the correct auxiliary verb we should include here? If you said do, if you thought about the auxiliary do, you were correct. So you can repeat the question as it's become an interrogative sentence like this. Do you like classical music? Pay attention to the intonation. Do you like classical music? So because we included do and the question mark at the end, it's become an interrogative sentence. And we use the right intonation as well to ask that question. Let's see what happens here in case we use he in the simple present. Repeat after me. This is a statement, another statement. He wants to visit Europe someday. Can you repeat that? This is something that happens only in affirmative sentences. In the present simple, we have this inflection for third person singular. Now, if I want to transform this into a question, I cannot keep this. I have to switch this inflection to the auxiliary. Remember the auxiliary we used before? Do. So in this case, I'm including question mark and I'm including do with the inflection. It becomes does. And the verb want is in its base form. Okay, can you repeat that after me? Does he want this, does he want to visit Europe someday? I can see you're doing great. One more example. Now it is in the simple past. You see the verb need in the simple past. It's a regular verb. Needed. Okay, repeat after me. They needed to wait for the new sofa. Your turn. If I want to transform this into a question, remember the auxiliary verb that we use for simple past? What is the past of do? All right, so if you thought about did, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to include did. And because we are including did, the verb need stays in the base form. All right, so this is what happens in interrogative sentences, in a question. The auxiliary is helping me make this question and express the past as well. So I don't need to change the verb need into simple past anymore. Repeat after me, please. Did they need to wait for the new sofa? Let's go to one more example. You see, because we are using she, we need to apply the third person rule as well to the auxiliary have. It is has in this case. In this affirmative statement, we are saying that she has been to California. Can you repeat that? Very good. So she has been to California means that she has already visited California. What happens is very similar to what happened before with the verb to be in the interrogative. In this case, has she been to California? Pay attention to the intonation. Has she been to California? Your turn. All right, so now I would like you to pause this video, take your time to transform these 10 sentences into interrogative sentences. In other words, transforming the statements into questions. All right, go ahead. Now let's check the correct ways to transform these statements into questions. Go ahead, check the correct answers, and if you have any questions about it, please leave a comment down below on this video. I will make sure to reply to you as soon as possible. In the description of this video, you will find a link to download the PDF with many exercises just like this one. Please go ahead and practice a little more transforming statements into questions. This is going to be very nice, very important. So this is it. We have come to the end of our lesson number 7 of the course Asking Questions in English, How to Sound More Natural. I believe by this time you already become to sound more natural when asking questions and pay attention to your intonation. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and you can share this video to more people if you feel like. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications not to miss the next lessons. You can set the reminder for the next lesson that will be available tomorrow. I'll see you next time.